Thanks for joining me tonight. We'll try to make our slides pretty quick. It's just a general overview of policies, just the basics for you to know before you get here, which can be helpful because it can seem like a lot the first week or two. So as much information as you can get ahead of time, that knowledge is power. So tonight we're going to talk about expectations for living in a community and our policies on campus. Peyton will put any helpful links that she can think of, copy and paste it in the chat to share with you. One that you're probably going to want to look for right away, Peyton, to put in there is the key. If you can look on the student conduct website and paste in the key, that's like our student conduct handbook. That's a good link for y'all to click through in your leisure. We'll go over some of those things, but just something for us to get in there ahead of time, maybe answer some questions. So yeah, my name's Amanda Gilmore. I'm one of the assistant directors in our Residence Life Housing and Dining Services office, and I have been with our department for 6 years now. I didn't go to school at KU, but Peyton did complete her undergraduate degree at KU and has also completed now 1 degree of graduate work at KU. So Peyton has firsthand knowledge from living in the residence hall, and I have 6 years of work experience here in the residence halls doing that kind of work. So that is who's going to help you tonight, and just let us know if you have any questions in the chat. Peyton, do you want to add anything for your introduction? Oh, you're also on the Council of Trustees. Peyton is our student trustee for the whole campus.
Yep, that pretty much sums up me. That's who I am. Hi, everyone.
I stole your thunder, Peyton. Thank you.
Oh, that's totally okay.
All right. So as I said, we're going to have y'all put any questions you have in the chat now that we're getting started. So if you just want to stay muted, and we will take open Q&A at the end too. If you need to unmute for your question, we can totally do that at the end. And if we miss something in the chat sometimes, also if I miss anyone, Peyton, who needs to be admitted from the waiting room, if you can just let them in if I get distracted presenting. Right now we're at 22. Last time we had 80. Kind of unpredictable with numbers, but we're happy to repeat any questions you have in the chat if they get missed, if we get busy. If your question is very situational or individual and it needs us to like look at something at your account, for example, we might just ask you to email us in the interest of time tonight. If we do that, you can just email us at housing@kutztown.edu. And then lastly, just be aware that this is going to be recorded and shared on YouTube on our playlist of these What's Up Wednesdays. This is the 4th of 5. Our next one is 2 weeks from today on the 23rd. And that one is about move-in day and welcome week and what to expect. Same place you found this link, you can find the link for that last What's Up Wednesday. So yeah, we will go ahead and get started. So a little bit about who we are, because it gets confusing. We're all one department. We're the Department of Residence Life, which I think of as like the warm and fuzzy, like staff who supports you, community assistants, desk receptionists, programming, the fun stuff, you know. Housing, which is like the logistics of facilities, maintenance, you know, keys, access, you know, your room charges, that kind of thing. And dining services, which is like your meal plans and all of the fun food related things on campus. So that's all out of our department, and we work closely together. And this office, this department that we are, is located in 106 Old Main. So Old Main's the big flagship building on campus with the pretty columns, the white columns out front, right off of Main Street. And if you're looking at the front of the building, we are to the left. If you're looking at the front of the building on the first floor, not the ground floor, the first floor. And we're in the A wing, if you're curious about how to come visit us. We have candy, usually. All right, so our staff. So just so you know kind of who is going to be the ones enforcing policy, teaching you about policy, making sure you're familiar with all this. Those are the community assistants. Every resident, which is all of you, is going to have a community assistant who's a resource for you and is there to assist you. They're there to assist you with your transition to KU, plan programs for you, perform nightly rounds of your hall. So they do, Peyton, is it 4 rounds that they do and 5 on weekends?
Yep, so all of our traditional halls will do 4 rounds during the week and 5 rounds on weekends, and then non-trad, so the bigger buildings like Dixon and Golden Bear will all do 3 rounds during the week, and then on weekends they do 4.
Yeah, and we just have those just in case there's an emergency that like no one heard about or somebody is having a medical emergency. You never know what you're going to find on a round, honestly. So they just kind of keep eyes on the building. Sometimes they'll find like maintenance things too, like something's leaking or there's water, something like that. So it's good for them to do rounds and keep an eye on things because honestly, safety is our #1 priority here. Let's see, what else do they do? They can help mediate any roommate or apartment issues that come up. CAs can also answer any questions that you might have about campus. Just being upperclassmen, they have more experience than you coming in, so they're a really good resource. And there's always a community assistant on duty, which is nice because if you're having an emergency or you need help with something, there's always someone to call every single night on campus when we're open. Also important to note that in addition to these community assistants, we also have cub coaches. So our cub coaches are like our first year mentors to all of the residential first year students. Again, all of you. So you'll get notifications soon about what cohort you're in, and you'll have a cohort of your Bear Cub Connection program. And overseeing each cohort, there's about 20 cohorts. And you'll have a cub coach assigned to that cohort. And it's basically another upperclassman mentor to support you through your first year at KU. So lots of support on campus for you, and we'll talk about even more, which are our desk receptionists. So Kutztown University is pretty unique in that we have a 24/7 front desk. So if you need to sign a guest in at 3 p.m., a DR is right there at the lobby for you. If you have a question about how to find a building on campus somewhere at 3 a.m., a desk receptionist is there and you can go ask them. So yeah, they do things like signing guests in and out. They hand out equipment. They monitor who's coming in and out. They check IDs. They help you get your packages and your mail. And they just answer questions. It's nice to have an upperclassman right there, especially for first year students, because you know they're already working, right? They're right there, sitting there, waiting to help you. And it's also just nice to have a friendly face. Like Peyton knows from supervising the DRs, just having someone friendly when you walk in and be like, hey, how's it going? Or hey, have a good day. You know, it's just nice. It's friendly. It's a good environment to be in, and our DRs help create that environment. So in general, our residence life staff, beyond those student staff positions that we just talked about, we also have our grad and professional staff. So your building director is either a new professional or a graduate student like Peyton. And these people are building directors and they oversee the day-to-day operation of the hall and the student staff. So they're the boss. They're the person overseeing the student staff, those DRs, the community assistants, and the ARDs. The ARDs are the assistant resident directors, and those are like our senior most student staff members who maybe in the past have been a CA or a DR, and now they have the experience to help someone like Peyton, a building director, lead that staff in that hall. So those are like your in-hall staff. But we also have head staff on call. So all of those building directors, in addition to some other graduate students for our department, they serve in this rotation of like 14-ish people who rotate day after day in this on-call rotation to help at night on campus. So that if a DR or a CA has an issue or finds something like a big leak, or maybe there's a big conflict or someone's having a mental health crisis, maybe, they can call head staff for additional assistance. So they respond to health and safety concerns or any potential violations of law or university policy. Our staff will show up to document that, provide resources, and help the student staff in those situations. So again, there's like 14, maybe 16 head staff on call, and they do a rotation, and you never know who's going to show up. But we have someone on every single night that can help, and we have them in rotation so that they can all get some rest and not be on call for their building every single night of the year. So, something to know about all that staff we just talked about. Doesn't matter if you're talking about the student staff that we just talked about, like the desk receptionists, the DRs, all the way up and through central office staff like myself or those professionals in the on-call or on-duty rotations. We're all KU staff members, which means at every single level from student to professional, we are mandatory reporters. That sounds really scary. We don't want it to sound scary. We just want to be transparent with you about our reporting obligations. So, a mandatory reporter is any staff member who becomes aware of any violation of law or policy or any potential sexual misconduct. So, if we hear of any of these things here on the slide, we do have to report them to the university to make sure that we're extending the proper resources to you and meeting all of our legal requirements for reporting. And we also want to make sure that you get help, especially if it's a medical or a health or safety concern. So just know that everyone from your community assistant to that student at the front desk to someone like me or Peyton, if you tell us something, we are absolutely going to listen to you, hear you out, support you, be there for you. But we may have to say something like, hey, because of my role, I do need to call campus police to have them take a statement from you. Or you can say, I don't want to talk to them. That's okay. We just have to call them. You can send them away. We've done our job. We've made the phone call. So that's a little bit about what mandatory reporting is. Just know that it's in place not only for legal obligations, but to help make sure that we're getting you the right resources and we're being held accountable to do our job too. Okay, so what are policies and why do we have them? So, this is probably the Zoom that people are like not as excited about. This is not like, what can I bring to campus? Can I have this? Like, what meal plans and food is there? This is like, okay, how do I not get in trouble my first semester on campus? How do I avoid that? So these policies, they're a framework of clearly defined community expectations. We have them honestly to make sure that y'all are safe and that you're in an environment where you can actually get your degree and you can thrive and you can live and cohabitate in a nice community together. Without these rules, people would probably run amok a little bit, right? So these policies help define our rules and assist in holding students accountable for their behaviors, right? If they do something that disrupts the community, there's probably some sort of consequence for that. We call those consequences sanctions if you're found responsible for violating a policy. So, what can you do? So, students, it's your responsibility for familiarizing yourself with the school's policy. These policies are found in the student handbook, which is also known as the key. Peyton did find it, and Peyton put it in the chat. There's a link. So, if you just check out that link, you can read the whole key there. It has all the policies. I mean, I've looked through it before and just paged through and been like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I never thought that that would even happen, but they're prepared for those things to possibly happen. So we have policies for everything here. So I encourage you to read through that. It's your responsibility as a student. And if you do accidentally violate a policy, it's not like it's going to be okay if you're like, well, I didn't know. You need to know. That's your responsibility to read the key. And I'd rather you know that ahead of time. Okay. Peyton, do you want to cover the visitation policy?
Yeah, sure. And then just to jump back to your last slide about the key, something I found really helpful is if you do use the key online, you can use the command find feature. So if you're looking for something specific, it comes up really fast. So for instance, if you were looking if candles were allowed, you can type in control find and then candle, and you can find all of our policies on that specific topic that you're looking for. So just to move on to visitation policies, so every student has a visitation and they all have to follow a different type of rules depending what type of student they are. So first semester students are considered the underclassmen students, so they follow underclassmen visitation. And then anything from a second semester freshman on is considered upperclassmen, and they will follow upperclassmen rules. So first semester of on-campus residency, so Monday through Thursday, so weekdays, from 9 a.m. to midnight, you can have visitors over. They would have to be signed out before midnight the next day. So if you have them signed in on Monday, you're gonna have to have them signed out by Monday 11:59 before it actually hits that Tuesday point. Friday and Saturday, first year students can have overnight visitation. And you can have overnight visitation regardless of your guest sex or gender identity. So whomever you want to have stay in your room that night, you can sign them in, no questions asked. And then Sunday from 9 a.m. to midnight, it follows the same rules as Monday through Thursday, where you have visitation. It's just on Sunday night, so it's kind of at the end of the week. And then all guests must have a valid form of identification, so we can't sign anyone, or our DRs can't sign anyone in at the desk if they don't have a form of ID, especially if they're an off-campus visitor. We want to make sure that we have some way of knowing who they are when they are coming into our residence hall so we can identify them if there were, say, a fire evacuation or if there's any other type of crisis situation, we have a way of identifying who was in the building. Guests must be signed into the building 24/7. So whenever you have a guest over, make sure you stop at the front desk when you are entering and when you are leaving, just to make sure that they are accounted for and in the building how they are supposed to be there. And then each resident student may host up to 3 visitors at one time. So if you live in a room and it's you and your roommate, you may the total number of people that can be in your room at a time or signed in under you it's 3 per person. So the total number of you could be 8 people in that room. So 1 person equals 3 visitors.
Great. So we're going to go to the next slide too, and this should answer the question that just came in the chat from Finnegan. But Finnegan, if this slide doesn't answer your question, just re-put in a question in the chat and we'll address it. Go ahead, Peyton.
So, upperclassmen visitation is 24 hours per day, 7 days a week visitation. This includes second semester first year students, like I said before, with earned credits. Host students may only have overnight visitors when permitted for 3 nights, for 3 overnights per week. So that's 3 overnights in a 7 day period, and that 7 day period is Monday 9 a.m. to the next Monday at 8:59 a.m. And overnight is when a visitor is signed in anytime between 12 a.m. and 9 a.m. So if a visitor that you have is signed in anywhere between 12 a.m. and 9 a.m., even if they don't stay the whole time during that 12 a.m. to 9 a.m. period, that is still considered one overnight in your 7 day period. And then we also require pre-registration on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evening. So if you know that someone is going to be coming into your space and staying there overnight, you need to have them signed in before it hits midnight. And you can do this by notifying the hall desk of the anticipated arrival time of your guest. So if you know someone is going to be coming to stay with you, you can just stop by the desk and have them make the pass. And then once that guest gets here, they can approve the pass and make it active. That way that your pass is active, saying that that person is here now. The information needed to pre-register includes the visitor's name, type of ID, anticipated time of arrival, and anticipated length of stay. So make sure you have all that information prepared when you get to the desk so that you can make their process even smoother.
Awesome. Thank you, Peyton.
Sure.
All right, I will let Peyton get back to the chat, and I'm going to talk about probably the ones we get questions the most about with the most common policies. So let's talk about our alcohol, drug, and constructive possession policies. So just so you're aware, Kutztown University is dry in the residence halls, apartments, and suites. So regardless of your age, we don't care if you're 18, we don't care if you're 25, we don't care if you're 56. Regardless of your age, alcohol use, possession, manufacturing, or distribution is not permitted in any of our buildings on campus. So not the residence halls, suites, or apartments. So just being aware of that. And then for drugs, any use, possession, manufacturing, or distribution of marijuana, heroin, narcotics, or any other controlled substances is not permitted in the residence halls, suites, apartments, or university premises. Obviously, if you have a prescription and the bottle has your name on it, that's obviously fine. We're talking about like recreational drugs. Obviously, we would not allow those on campus. We do get a lot of like pushback and questions around medical marijuana. And it's just the campus policy that even medical marijuana is not permitted on campus. So there can be a conversation about whether living on campus is best for you or not. If you regularly need the use of medical marijuana, this may not be the most conducive space for your living. Or we tell students, if you have a medical marijuana card and that's something you're doing off campus, that's your business. But marijuana, for any reason, is not allowed on campus. We do understand sometimes there's questions about that, but I thought it'd be helpful to make that clear early on. And then lastly, constructive possession. So the presence of alcohol or drugs in an area of your control, such as your bedroom, or a common area such as a living room or kitchen if you're in maybe an apartment complex, that is your area of control, right? So if there are things like alcohol and drugs that shouldn't be in there and it's in there, that means you have constructive possession of it because it's in your space. So what does that mean for you? What does that look like? It means that you should tell staff or you should have that conversation if you know who in your space, for example, your roommate, saying like, hey, I'm not comfortable having this here. This is a violation. I don't want to get in trouble for this, right? And hopefully they'll respect that. If not, you can involve staff. But it's just important to note that if you have that kind of stuff in your space, you're responsible for what's in your space and what's not your space. It's a shared space, meaning you have joint responsibility over that space. So it's important to speak up if you're uncomfortable with something in your space. So let's talk about some other things that come up a lot. So no pets are allowed. So if you're living in on campus, the only pet you can have are toothless fish. We have to say toothless, no piranhas, okay? Toothless fish in a 10-gallon tank or less. So not like a huge, huge, huge tank, right? 10 gallons or less. No, you can't have frogs. We're saying fish with gills that are toothless, okay? Now, if you have an ESA, for example, or a service animal, something like that, you'll work with our DSO office on campus to make those accommodations, and all that paperwork would need to be filed and completed and then communicated back to our office from the Disability Services office. So that's a whole process. So if you do have an ESA, get in touch with DSO now, like this week, and start to get that paperwork done. Otherwise, there are no pets besides fish, toothless fish allowed on campus, okay? We have it happen a lot that people have unregistered pets or pets that shouldn't be here, and it's really uncomfy when we have to go in and be like, hey, you have 24 hours to get rid of this animal. Like you knew you couldn't have it, you have it here, and you've got 24 hours to find it a new home or have it stay with a friend off campus, drive it home to a family member, but this animal cannot be here. So don't put yourself in that situation or the pet, the animal in that situation, right? Some other things to go over, decoration and fire safety. So we do not allow candles. If it has a wick that you can burn, it is not allowed. Even if you're like, oh, I'm not going to light it, I'm going to sit it on this candle warmer so it melts. No, no, no. If it has a wick, it is a candle and it is not allowed, okay? You also can't have incense. You can't have like butane lighters, like those ones that are like miniature flamethrowers, I like to think of them as. You can't have that. You can't have propane. No alcohol bottles are allowed for decoration. Just stay away from all the alcohol related stuff on campus, okay? And nothing can be hung from the ceiling or from the sprinklers or smoke detectors. All that's for fire safety reasons. It's probably common sense that many people probably know if you cover a smoke detector or sprinkler, that's a problem if there's actually a fire, right? That's a safety concern. You could also accidentally set off a sprinkler and flood your room if you're like hanging clothes off a hanger off your sprinkler. We've seen it. Don't do it. You don't want all your books, your clothes, your laptop, everything ruined because you got careless with a sprinkler. Sometimes students will cover their smoke detectors for either nefarious or innocent reasons. Don't do it. We will see it. It's a huge violation of policy, and there are some pretty steep consequences for covering your smoke detector. We need our buildings to be fire safe. You're living in close quarters with a lot of people, and we need to make sure that there's not a tragic fire that breaks out and people get seriously hurt. So yes, all that to say, do not mess with our fire safety stuff. The less obvious thing, why don't we let you hang things from your ceiling? So that's actually another fire safety thing, especially in buildings with multiple floors. If there is a fire and you have like a big tapestry on your ceiling, like see my ceiling here, if there's like a big tapestry on that tapestry or whatever is hung there is going to attract flames, and then it's going to heat floor through floor, and the floors are going to give out and burn faster. It's all about fire safety. Gosh forbid there was an emergency. We want our buildings to be as safe as possible. So don't hang anything on your ceiling. Disorderly conduct. So, disorderly conduct is defined as any behavior that serves no legitimate purpose and is disruptive. So, for example, fighting, escalated pranks, like doing things that are going to damage the community. That's kind of like our umbrella term there, disorderly conduct. Also, recording or photographing others without their consent in an area where they expect privacy, i.e., a bathroom or a bedroom. Those are private areas. You cannot take a picture of someone without their consent, and you cannot record them without their consent. We have this happen fairly, I don't want to say often, but it's come up quite a few times with roommates because they're like trying to prove that their roommate is doing something or did something, and they're like taking a picture of them or recording a video. And we're like, whoa, 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 now you just violated a policy. You're not allowed to record them without their consent or knowledge, especially in an area with privacy concerns like a bedroom or bathroom. So just make sure you don't do that, even if your intentions are not bad. Weapons, we do not allow tasers, we do not allow stun guns, we do not allow BB guns, Orbeez guns, paintball guns, or any air-powered projectile devices. It's just too much. A college campus, anything that looks like a gun or is a weapon, just forget about it. Don't bring it, don't have it. It's just a safety concern for either what it could do or what it could be viewed as being doing or be confused with. So just don't do it. Knives are okay if it's a tiny blade, so 4 inches or less. Typically, this someone's hand might be about 4 inches, give or take an inch. So if your little pocket knife or something is smaller than that, it's a-okay. So you can have like a little pocket knife that you might open packages with or something. So that's okay, but no big blades, okay? No butcher knives, no nothing huge or scary. Don't do that. Property. Oh, we already did this. Don't cover your smoke detector for any reason whatsoever, even if it's innocent. Like one time we had someone say like, it was just happened to be where she straightened her hair, and sometimes there'd be a lot of steam coming off the hair straightener. Concerning, but okay. And we're like, no, don't cover your smoke detector for any reason. You've got to find another way, open your window, I don't know, straighten your hair somewhere else, put it on a lower heat setting. I don't know what you got to do, but we cannot have you cover your smoke detector. And the last thing I want to go over for these main policies to highlight is harm to others. Obviously, we're going to hold you accountable for any physical violence, threats of violence. So even texting someone and being like, I'm going to beat your, yep, that's a violation of policy. You will be held accountable for through student conduct if you threaten someone. So if it can be viewed as a threat, we will take it as a threat and we will hold you accountable. So just don't say it. And don't put these things in writing too. Silly nonsense. Don't do that. Harassment is also against policy. So those repeated behaviors, usually harassment, it's something that's repeated. Bullying, any kind of assault or intimidation of another person is another one that we take seriously. So all in all, just be nice to people. Follow the policies, be nice to each other, respect each other. And then lastly, any violation of law. So if we become aware of any violation of the law, whether it's downtown, somewhere locally, even if you're far away and we get wind of it, we can hold you accountable through the student conduct process for any violations of law, because at all times, regardless of where you are, you're a KU student. Again, this is all just a snippet of what is in the key. I'm giving you a little preview. I'm giving you the basics. I'm giving you the most commonly misconstrued or most confused policies, but we're just touching on this stuff. Seriously, if you haven't clicked on the link in the chat from Peyton and checked out the key, please read that. You're responsible for familiarizing yourself with it. So, you know how earlier we talked about like that constructive possession policy and being responsible for what's in your space? Well, this is like kind of going back to that a little bit in some ways. What do you think you do if you think someone's breaking a policy? What would you do? So we would hope that you would be proactive, right? So have a discussion. You could even, if you know who your roommate is now, you could talk to them tonight. You could reach out to them. You could email them. However, you're communicating with them. If you're already are in contact, talk with them about what is and is not acceptable in your apartment, bedroom, whatever. Have that conversation, saying like, "Hey, I'm really not comfortable having these things in there. Like, if you want to drink, you want to party, just please don't bring it back to the room, whatever it is." You know, have each other's back, like encourage each other to be safe. Talk about how you will communicate issues that arise, saying like, hey, if I'm doing something that makes you uncomfortable, how do you want me to let you know? Remember, one person's choices impacts everyone in the living space, whether that's everyone in the bedroom, the suite, or the apartment. When someone's violating a policy, you can confront them. And it doesn't have to be in an aggressive way, right? It can just be like, whoa, I thought we said we weren't doing this in here. Can you take that somewhere else? Or, hey, no judgment, but this being my room too, that's something I'm just not okay with, right? So both of those ways that I said that, not mean, not aggressive, just setting a clear boundary because it's my room too. So ask them to correct the behavior and let them know, you know, if it keeps happening, let them know, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm going to have to get staff if this continues to be an issue, and I don't want to get staff involved. Just communicate clearly. And if it continues to happen and it's not stopping, contact the CA on duty or go down to the front desk and ask them for help. And we can walk you through next steps and what that would look like. Now, as always, though, if someone's health and safety is an immediate concern, right? Maybe yes, they've drunk a lot and they can't stand, they're throwing up, they're not coherent, maybe they're losing consciousness, just call. If you didn't already have this number in your phone, I'm going to stay on this slide a minute. There's a phone number here. I'm going to read it out loud. Now's a good time to put it in your phone. Public safety emergency. This is the emergency number. I don't recommend calling 911 on campus. I recommend calling this number. If you call 911, they're just going to dispatch it to this number, and it's going to slow you down another 10 to 30 seconds. So just call public safety's emergency line, which is 610 683 4001. Again, put it in your phone if you didn't yet. Public safety emergency number on campus is 610 683 4001. And so that we can move on from the slides, Peyton either already did or is probably putting that in the chat now for you, just so you can have the phone number if I continue. So yeah, definitely good to have public safety on speed dial, just so you can be a good bystander if something happens to someone else, or gosh forbid you need it at some point. It's good to have their number. But when in doubt, always prioritize someone's health and safety. Call for help, please. We don't want any tragedies on campus because we were afraid to get someone in trouble. We're always going to prioritize your safety. For any potential violations of law or university policy, public safety will respond with our staff. So someone like Peyton might show up and they might have an officer in tow, right? Because it's their job. If it's a violation of law or we think it could be, we have to call them to come with. It's important to understand that students could face consequences through the law and or the university, two separate processes: legal process, KU student conduct process following the key, which was shared in the chat with all of you. Two separate processes. So the law may or may not hold you accountable if you're breaking the law, and student conduct may or may not hold you accountable based on campus policies and how we sanction on campus. So what happens is students are put on an incident report, which is sent to student conduct, and then the student is sent an email and asked to meet with their student conduct case officer. At this meeting, oftentimes people are like really nervous for this meeting. It's really not that deep, right? So usually at this meeting, we just review with the student, hey, this is the report that we got. These are the charges. It says you're responsible, maybe like a first-time alcohol violation or something. We review, hey, these are your rights as a student. This is what the process looks like. Here's some consequences that could happen with this charge. And we just kind of take it from there with the process. But that first meeting is just to go over things with you and share all the information we have with you. And then you decide whether or not you want to take responsibility. If you decide not to, it could go to a student conduct case, like a hearing, whether that's formal or informal. The important thing to know is that if you do get in trouble, just hang tight, check your email, and you'll meet with someone who's going to help clarify the whole process for you and walk you through the process. A student conduct record does not go away from year to year, right? So if you get in trouble for an alcohol violation your first semester, if that happens 2 years later, it's going to be your second violation, right? Not your first one. It doesn't reset every year. So it's important to remember that. And violating certain policies or continuing to violate policies without demonstrating learning could result in removal from housing and or the university. For example, that covered smoke detector thing, you don't want to do that more than once or you're out of here. Gone. We cannot have our students get hurt in a fire because someone covered their fire smoke detector. So there's some things we take very seriously. Again, it's important to be familiar with the policies. It's important to read the key. But it does usually take a lot to remove you from campus because we do believe in an educational process. So usually there's educational sanctions, those kinds of consequences. And then if after time the same thing is happening, we're like, look, you're not getting it. Maybe this isn't the place for you. Sometimes we have to have those conversations, but honestly, that's pretty rare. So we want it to be educational is the point. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. It's a lot better to ask and have the information than make a mistake because you didn't know. And with that, that's actually the bulk of the information we wanted to share with you. We're going to do Q&A. I'm not sure if Peyton needs any help with the chat or the questions. I haven't been able to look with it. But in general, before we take your questions, just know that you can contact us all summer long, all year long, actually, housing@kutztown.edu, or our phone number is 610-683-4027. If you call that number, they'll reroute you to whatever person in our office has that area of expertise for your question. And again, if you want to come to the last What's Up Wednesday, myself and my colleague Maria will be presenting that, and we're going to go over in depth all about move-in day, what every part of the day looks like, and what welcome week, your first 2 weeks on campus, what that's going to look like and what programs will be offered. So if you're having anxiety about what the first week is going to look like or what move-in day is going to entail, definitely log into our last What's Up Wednesday on the 23rd, 2 weeks from now. Also, we are doing an Instagram Live tomorrow at noon. So if you think of any questions you have that, pop up after you sign off of here, or maybe you're just more comfortable asking on Instagram Live, that's fine. Or if you have friends who can join us tonight but are free at noon tomorrow and want to hop on the live, myself and another graduate student like Peyton, but not Peyton, it will be our friend Sydney, will be on and we'll just be chatting with you. We won't have a presentation or anything. We'll just kind of be hanging out saying like, hey, anybody have questions about coming to KU, what to expect, living in the residence halls, what to bring, policies, meal plans, anything like that. We'll be there to help tomorrow at noon on Instagram at Live Here, Roar Here. If you're not following us, go follow us. We're actually a pretty good time and we share important things. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have for you, and we will take any questions. Anything we need to address from the chat, Peyton, or are we all good?
I think I got most of them, but one that just came in about the question in the chat is about the new visitor registration policy. So to answer your question, Dylan, um, it would be a lot easier if your parents had filled that out prior to you having a visitor pass made for them in the residence hall, but they don't need one for move-in day. So everyone's going to be moving stuff in and out during move-in day, so it would be a lot of hassle for the desk to sign every single person in. So for move-in day specifically, no, but before that, it would be a good idea to have them fill out that registration so that when you get here, their profiles are already made and they can be signed in quickly. If they don't have a pass, our DR will help you make that pass for them and help them create a profile so that they can be properly signed in. Um, so that is to answer that question. Please let me know if I didn't answer that one. Oh, we hope to see you at orientation.
I'll be at
Lily,
orientation. Yep, Lily, say hi to me. I'll be presenting for housing. Just wave. Just be like, hey, give me a signal. I'll say hi to you.
I see Noah's question about fraternities and parties. So we do have some fraternities. None of our fraternities are on campus. So if anything is happening, it is happening down on Main Street somewhere, not on campus. Um, but not that I know of, honestly.
Oh, do you want to go over Ensign's question about how do I create a pass?
So creating a pass, are you talking about creating the new, like the off-campus visitor profile or like just a visitor pass in general?
So you're asking, I think we're trying to determine if you're asking for a KU student to make a pass to go in another building or a guest to the university, right, Peyton?
Yes. Or I can just go over both too.
Yeah,
So,
go over it, Peyton.
um, so creating a pass, if you are a guest pass, sorry. Okay, so um, to create a pass to have someone signed into the building, you just go to your front desk and say that you would like to sign your guest in as a visitor. So a guest is anyone who doesn't live in the building that you're in. So say I live in Lehigh Hall and I want my friend Sydney, who lives in Berks Hall, to come spend some time with me in my residence hall. I would just go to the desk with Sydney and have my ID ready and Sydney's ID ready and say that I would like to have her signed in. And then the DR will sign them in on our database and have a electronic pass made for Sydney so that she can enter the residence hall. And then as for the outside of KU visitors, it's the same process. The only thing that's different is that they have to have a profile created themselves. And since they're not a student, they won't automatically have a profile on our database. So what they'll have to do is fill out that new visitor registration form, like I explained earlier, where it will essentially create a profile for them on our database so that we can select them as a visitor. And it's just a bunch of questions about like your name. It asks you to write a picture. Pro tip for that, if you are having people do that, make sure that they hit crop when they put their picture in, unless or else it won't let you complete your registration. Hope that answered your question.
Oh, and I did see in the chat, I was asked if I'm presenting on the 19th. Orientation, to my understanding, does not have a presentation on the 19th. The dates for orientation are the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and then July 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th. Those are the orientation dates, and I'm presenting at all of those.
And I see another question to visit my daughter at KU, do I need a pass? So, just to be on campus with your daughter, you won't necessarily need a pass there, but if you do plan to enter their residence hall, a pass will need to be created for you to go up into your student's residential space or anywhere else in the building that's past the desk. Amanda, is there any place that they can find these recorded meetings?
Yep, I just replied with the link. So the same page that you found the link to join, if you scroll back to the three that have happened prior to this one, the click here to join has been replaced by click here to view a recording of this live Zoom. So you can view the recordings from the other three that have already happened by going to that same link that you found the link to join this. You're welcome. All right, and with that, I think that's everything. But if you have more questions for us, yeah, Ensign, not to my knowledge, but maybe there's like a private orientation I'm not aware of or some sort of subgroup. So I would reach out to our orientation office. Can you look up the orientation email for me, Peyton, and put it in the chat? So I would reach out to them and just confirm. If you were told something was on the 19th, I don't want to tell you you're wrong, but I am saying based on the information I have, there's not an orientation that I'm aware of on the 19th. So I would just reach out to them and check whoever you received that information from. Maybe there's something I don't know about. And Peyton's going to put that in the chat for you now. And with that, I don't think we have any other questions. But if you think of some, like I said, we're going to be on Instagram Live tomorrow over lunch at noon. If not a lot of people are there, we'll just stay and hang out 10, 15 minutes. So make sure if you do have a question that you log on early so that we don't sign off thinking nobody's there. Any other questions from the group before we leave? All right. And then we did just put in that chat, the orientation email. It's just orientation@kutztown.edu. So I would reach out about the 19th and send if you think there is one then, just to confirm with them so you're not making a trip and then being surprised. Yeah, if Brett said there is one, maybe they added one. It's possible. Maybe they added one and there was overflow that I'm unaware of. But still, reach out and check just in case. And if they're like, no, Amanda doesn't know what she's talking about, then Amanda doesn't know what she's talking about. But I'd still rather you check. All right. Can we find the key on my KU? I don't think it is there, is it? No, just use
Um,
the.
Not to my knowledge, but if you go on any browser and just type in Kutztown University key, that's the first link that pops up will take you right to the website. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very bad at navigating the new MyKU, so I'm not so sure it could be on there. So if you find it, let me know so that I can also see it on there. But I don't ever remember it being on the old MyKU either.
Finnegan, do you have a question?
Yeah. Um, do transfer students have a different day to move in on move in day, or is it the 21st like everyone else?
It's the 21st, so that's a good
Okay.
question. You're going to move in on the 21st. It's for all new students.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It sounds like the link that we gave for the key is not working, maybe, Peyton?
Yeah, so when I clicked on it too, it did tell me that the website was not private. I did click to just pass by that screen, and it did come up in both ways. And I hope it's not doing anything to my computer, but I don't think it is. I think it's okay.
Yeah, so when that pops up, you can just click view details and then click visit this website. I'm doing that now.
Mhm.
And it is not a dangerous link. It's a safe link. I'm looking at it. It's just a PDF copy of our key. So if you just click past those things, it'll come up. I'll put it in the chat one more time for you all. But if you should be able to click past those things. If not, if it's still giving you trouble, email us at housing@kutztown.edu and we can always attach a PDF for you directly. I'll put it in the chat one more time. You can't click past it. Yeah, email us, Noah, at housing@kutztown.edu, anyone who wants it, and we'll make sure you can get a copy. Or it's possible they're just updating it or something and maybe something's going wrong. But I'm going to put this in here. Hopefully it works. And if you can't click past it, we can email you that copy if you just email us. All right. And with that, that's all we got. Thanks for your help, Peyton.
Sure, it was nice to meet all of you, and I can't wait to see you on campus this fall.
Yeah, I hope I get to see y'all at orientation. Have a good rest of your summer and
Anson?
stay safe.
Anson,
Oh, hey, what's up?
can I have a doc version of the PDF because my eyesight is not very good and
Not a
my
problem.
screen reader doesn't like it.
Can you email us that
Yeah.
request? And we'll respond with
I can email you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that works. We'll take care of it then.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye, y'all. Have a good night.